Screen is visible, guys. Hello.
Yes, yes.
Yes, Professor.
Okay. Thank you. So in this focus, we are going to discuss about the concept of fragmentation, paging, and segmentation. Okay. So as we are supposed to cover some particular objectives, so with respect to fragmentation, we will discuss that what is fragmentation, why do we have the concept of fragmentation in operating system, and how to handle it. Okay. Then what is the role of paging? What we are supposed to do means when to have the page view of a particular process, and how we are supposed to maintain that. Okay. Additionally, we are going to discuss the concept of segmentation, as we have discussed in the introductory classes, that segmentation puts the user's view of program in memory. So similar way, how many different views can be there means depending on the number of users and all, and then how we are going to program the concept of segmentation. Finally, we are going to exchange a few words in terms of discussion. Okay, moving forward, we are going to cover the first module. So what is fragmentation? So it is the process of fragmenting. Now, what is the meaning of fragmenting? Means it is the sort of, we can say art in real world, but when we say in virtual world, then it is not art, because art is supposed to change with time. But when you are defining something in virtual world, it is not supposed to vary. So there is a fixed algorithm that is working behind the picture. If it is dynamic in nature, then it might be different. So here we are just fragmenting, means we are making multiple pieces of memory spaces. So that's why here it is, the breaking your memory into multiple pieces is fragmentation. But the state of fragmented memory should be free. Means what we are saying, that if some process has already acquired the space in memory, then can we call it, means it's a process address space, can we call it the part means as fragmentation? No. Means if some process has taken up some space in memory, it is not part of fragmentation, because it is assigned space. Fragmentation can only be part of free space. Okay. So wherever there is some space in your memory and it is distributed in such a way so that you cannot allocate new process, then it's a state of fragmentation. Okay. Now, when so memory is allocated sequentially or continuously, normally. Okay. And when we do that, then in such a fashion, normally all the parts of a program are supposed to be stored in a contiguous, means in a sequential fashion. So you can consider this figure here. Here you can see that it is process P1, it is P2. Assume it. Okay. So allocating memory block 4 MB for process P1. So here earlier, suppose this first block was free and it was of 4 MB. Okay. Then there are new process came of size, it's a 3 MB. Okay. So here is this 1 MB space that is left out, and it's a 4 MB, 4 MB, 2 MB. These are the means. Suppose these are the two other memory chunks of 4 MB or 2 MB, and sequentially you are supposed to store. So you are storing from here. In this figure, they have not made it clear, means from where they are starting allocation. But let's suppose that the operating system is at 0, means the initial address. So operating system is at the first place, then 2 MB process is over, then 4 MB process is over. So these two places are already acquired, suppose. Then some process came, then that is supposed to get stored in this particular block only. So here the space of, means the size of this block is of 4 MB, but the process size is of 3 MB, suppose. Then 1 MB space is left out. Then this space is supposed to be part of fragmentation. How? We will discuss soon. Okay. So when memories are allocated in a sequential fashion, and file system cannot or will not allocate enough contiguous space to store a complete file. For example, now this same process happens again, means another 3 MB process comes, so it will acquire this space or similar space. Okay, because in memory chunks of 4 MB, suppose. Then again 3 MB process came, then again 1 MB space will get left out. So in this fashion, 2 MB space is part of fragmentation. Why? Because if some new process comes that is of 3 MB or 2 MB size, then it cannot get allocated, because this 1 MB and this 1 MB size are means distributed. So when the memory, in short, if we say in layman terms, that if your memory space is distributed in such a fashion so that you cannot allocate a new process. Means a new process will come, but it will not find the sufficient required space in a single chunk form. Then obviously you are supposed to say that the system is in fragmentation state. So here where this happens, so fragmentation happens in main memory, because every program is supposed to be called as process, and processes are supposed to run in main memory. So when processes take their respective space in main memory, then whatever the space that is left out and cannot be used for the space allocation with respect to another processes, then this particular situation is called fragmentation. It happens in main memory, and obviously it happens because of sequential allocation. Because if we have the distributed allocation in picture, then definitely this sort of issue is not supposed to be part of picture. Okay. Then why? So why fragmentation happens? Because of swapping and paging. Because we are supposed to, can anyone explain this particular point? Because we have already discussed swapping and paging. We are going to discuss paging in detail, but why swapping or paging is the cause of fragmentation? Anyone? Okay. So swapping means what? Swapping means that we are swapping out something or swapping in something. Means we are taking something out from main memory or we are bringing something into main memory. So when we are swapping things, means we are taking a part of some process out of main memory. It means what? Means that part has become a whole. Means that is a free space, and now the other pages can get stored or other processes can get stored in that particular part. Okay, but suppose that part is not supposed to get filled because the next process is of higher size. Okay, so some process, suppose this process of 2 MB was supposed to be swapped out from main memory. Then this 2 MB space became a whole, means this became a free space. After it, this 4 MB process, means suppose this is the 4 MB process, then this 4 MB process was again swapped out. Okay, then total how much space is free in your main memory? That is of 6 MB. But if some process came of size 5 MB, it cannot get its required space. It is not the situation that you don't have sufficient space. You do have. Okay, because the free hole sizes cumulatively is of 6 MB. Okay, but your process size that is of 5 MB, that space is not contiguous in nature. Means it is not all together. Because here you have 4 MB, here you have 2 MB. But the process need 5 MB contiguous space. Contiguous means in the form of a single chunk. So that's why that process will not get allocated. System will deny the request. So it means what? It means that your system is not using its resources at their maximum potential. Because if you do have a space but the processes are not getting stored in this fashion, you will again swap out some more processes. When you will do more process swap out, means there is a probability that you will create more holes, and those holes might be distributed, means not in a sequential, means not in the form of contiguous space. So in this fashion, more swap in swap out means more holes creation. More holes creation means more probability of fragmentation. Okay, so fragmentation means your memory will get divided into multiple chunks of free spaces as well as allocated spaces. So here it will become more clear that when we are discussing the concept of fragmentation, here you can see, suppose it is your main memory. Okay, so here this part is used. This is used means some processes are already capturing or they have allocated their respective data in these particular memory areas. So all these areas are filled. Okay, so used. And then these two spaces, means these two memory chunks are free. So these two are supposed to be part of external fragmentation. Okay, so external fragmentation means what? Means the total memory space exists to satisfy a request, but it is not contiguous. The same concept that I was discussing just 2 minutes before. Okay, so here your memory has multiple chunks, and how these chunks got created? Because of repetitive swapping. Means swapping program out, swapping program in. So in this fashion, there will be multiple chunks. You can imagine the concept of restaurant. Okay, suppose in a restaurant there are 10 benches. Now randomly customers are coming in, going out, coming in, going out throughout day. Okay, so at any particular moment, if you see the instantaneous picture of that particular restaurant, then you will find that some of the places, means some of the benches will always remain free. Some of the benches will always remain busy. Okay, and some of the benches are periodically busy or free, busy or free. So in this fashion, means the state of memory is of similar nature. Means some of the memory blocks might not get allocated forever, because those are very small in nature, so that they can't even fulfill the demand of a single process. Okay, and some memory chunks are too big in size, or supposed to be too far in, means at the very end of memory, or your memory size is very large, so all the requests are supposed to be satisfied in the first part. Okay, and you are not supposed to move to the last part of memory. So point is that at any moment of time, like restaurant, similar way your memory picture is always supposed to be a combination of used spaces as well as free spaces. Okay. And whatever is the free space that is got created because of your swapping or paging activity, that is supposed to be called external fragmentation. Means this is supposed to be called fragmentation because this space is not sufficient to fulfill the demand of a process alone. Okay. Now the combination of these two spaces, these two free spaces, is good enough to satisfy the demand of a process, but as these are not contiguous, that's why problem is there. That is called fragmentation. Okay, now what is the concept of internal fragmentation? So internal fragmentation says concept is same, but point is that it is internal to a memory block. So suppose it is the used area, so it is your total used area. Now in this total used area, the process acquired only a part of it. For example, this total used area size is of 5 MB. Now this 5 MB space out of 5 MB chunk, because memory is divided into blocks or words, because memory partition size, the page size is already fixed. Okay, because you need to do that. How, what is the page size, how you can fix it, that we will discuss in coming slides. Okay, so your memory is divided into different chunks and the size of each chunk is already fixed. And okay, now here, if your process size is more, then you can take 2 chunks or 3 chunks or 4 chunks, but all the chunks should be contiguous. So here you can see that this chunk is used, this chunk is used, this chunk is free. So if memory needs more than this space, then it cannot take, because it's before and it's after space, means it's before and after chunk are already filled. Okay, so here, if some, like here, these two are used and both of these are swapped out, then some process will come, then it can take this chunk also, and it is already free. So 3 chunks can be used. So in this fashion, suppose some process came, it used only a particular portion, suppose a 90% portion of a chunk, but 10% is left out. So that 10% will lead to internal fragmentation. Why it is supposed to be called internal? Because it is internal to a memory chunk. It is a separate chunk and it is a part of chunk. So when the whole chunk itself is free, that is supposed to create external fragmentation. And if there is some part that is part of some filled chunk, but that is not completely filled, okay, that is supposed to be called internal fragmentation. Okay, so in this fashion, we can say that allocated memory may be slightly larger than the requested memory. Then the size difference is memory internal to a partition, but not being used. So if we apply the first fit algorithm, first fit, like you might have remembered that in the last lectures, we have discussed the concept of best fit, first fit, and worst fit. So if we apply the first fit, means whichever process is coming first, allocate the space to that particular process. Okay, means first come, first serve. So here, first fit analysis reveals, means the studies have revealed that with respect to first fit algorithm, only out of n blocks, only 0.5 n blocks are supposed to get filled, and remaining are supposed to contribute to fragmentation. So most of means almost 50% of your memory space is supposed to lost to fragmentation. Means your memory is so dramatically, means your restaurant space out of 10 benches at any moment of time, on average, 5 benches are filled. Means what means it that your memory means your restaurant is not functioning well, your management schemes are not functioning well, your backside algorithms that you have used for allocating spaces to customers or for allocating spaces to processes inside your control system, those are not good enough, because those algorithms are leading to more fragmentation. If more fragmentation is there, means what? Very less number of processes are supposed to get the required space, means less degree of multi-programming means less utilization of your hardware resources, and ultimately your system will be inefficient. Okay, so most of the time it happens that we don't know the good scheduling algorithms, and that's why means the system designer, if that person doesn't employ good scheduling algorithms, and then despite having very good hardware resources, that despite having very powerful system, your system doesn't function well. Many of systems you have seen that system is very good in statistics, okay, very good RAM, very good hard disk, then there is a dedicated graphics card and sort of SSD and all, everything is there, okay, but your system is not functioning well. Why? Because either your system on chip means that SoC components are not goodly configured in a good way, and secondly that there might not be the employment of good scheduling or some other functional algorithms. So that's why algorithms means the software component that becomes a very powerful component in terms of your firmware, you can say. Okay, your hardware components are important, but those hardware components will become inefficient or meaningless if you don't have a good software component. Fine. So on average, we can say that in most of the cases means normally 1/3 of the resources may be unusable, but at max 50% of the resources might be unusable, means non-functional. So that's why it's called as 50% rule.
Professor,
yeah.
Why would we not arrange the free blocks together to create more space?
That's the concept of compaction. So to handle the this problem of you must have heard of with respect to programming languages and all. So in that means there is a automatic memory allocator and deallocator. In Java, we do find that. Okay. So in that means in C, we don't have automatic memory deallocation, but Java we do have. So you can see here that what is the concept of handling fragmentation, means we know that there is a problem with respect to fragmentation because most of the memory part, almost at max 50% of memory is unusable. Despite having good space, we are not able to allocate space to the required processes. So here, to handle it, we are supposed to have a process of compaction. So compaction means what? That you are supposed to shuffle your memory contents, means memory chunks, okay, and place all your free spaces together and make a single free space. So that's why there is a concept of free list in many programming languages, means that there is a linked list data structure that is supposed to take care of all the free blocks. Okay, so now normally in a sequential manner, all the programs are not stored in programming languages. They do employ the distributed kind of allocation, means dynamic memory allocation. So that's why the linked list becomes a very important data structure, because it keeps a track of all the distributed free spaces around your memory, and wherever those are available, there some part of your program, means some pages of that particular process are stored, and wherever those pages are supposed to be required by a processor or your scheduler, then only those components are supposed to be swept into your main memory for their functional aspects. Okay, so here you can see that compaction is possible only if the relocation is dynamic. Relocation is dynamic means what? That your loader is functioning in a dynamic fashion. Okay, means whenever required, your loader will load the components, means the parts of processes from hard disk to main memory. Means whenever we'll say that compaction is functioning, then there is a scenario of dynamic relocation. Dynamic relocation means your memory is getting compacted at the backside because frequently the pages are getting swept out, swept in, and all this process being executed at runtime. Obviously, okay. So external fragmentation. Sorry, this is internal fragmentation. I forgot to replace the word. Okay, it is external fragmentation. It is internal fragmentation. So in internal fragmentation, we can how we can handle. So there is no specific technique for that because we do know that we are supposed to specify the size of chunk. It doesn't matter more or less, but we do need to specify the size of chunk. Means a single block of memory is supposed to be declared by a programmer that it is of fixed this much size. Now suppose you have defined your chunk size of 2 bytes. Okay, 2 byte is very less memory, but okay, suppose that you have defined like that. So if a 2 byte space is defined for a single memory chunk, but your process is using only 1 byte. Okay, so in that particular scenario, some means your remaining 1 byte becomes part of internal fragmentation because no other process can claim that space because it is not a separate memory chunk. It is a part of memory chunk that is already filled by other process. So process P1 holds the control of this free chunk of 1 byte also and the filled chunk of 1 byte also. But if some other process comes of size P2, then it cannot take control of that particular 1 free byte. Okay, so in this fashion, the only choice that we are left with is that you are supposed to employ a good allocation algorithm so that you are supposed to effectively assign the smallest partition, means the smallest chunk to processes, but large enough for the process. Means your chunk choice should be the best one. That's why best fit algorithm is a obvious choice for system designers because they don't want to put their memory into a risky situation where the fragmentation is more and the supposed utilization is very less. But they don't also want the kind of scenario where memory is supposed to be utilized in worst fashion. Means wherever you are supposed to, means some process is coming into system, you are assigning the most large memory chunk to that particular process because in that particular fashion also most of the part of memory will get used. So best fit algorithm is a obvious choice where you are supposed to get the best choice of your memory chunk with respect to a particular process. Fine. So any questions so far? If you want to ask. Yeah, Archit.
The chunk sizes, are they the same or are they different, like in a system? In one particular system, are all chunks of memory of the same size or of different sizes?
Here you can see, okay. For example, suppose this is your physical memory. Okay. Now in this physical memory, these are 3 chunks. Chunk 1, chunk 2, chunk 3 in this fashion. Now some process comes, then it will take control of this particular chunk. Now here, if the process has used only 90%, okay, then it cannot take, means other process cannot take control of this 10% remaining. So here these chunks size are same. But now the question comes, sir, what if the process needs the size that is larger than this chunk? Then the process will take control of 2 chunks. Okay, so supposed to be means all the chunks of same size and that chunk size definition depends on system programmer, means your hardware programmer.
So, Professor, I was thinking about it in the analogy of a restaurant that you gave. Now, when we go to a restaurant, many restaurants don't have the same table sizes.
Yes,
they have table of 2, then they have table of 4, table of 8, like that. So, why can't we have similar different chunks of?
Actually, as that is not a perfect analogy, so we cannot relate with that. But if you want to relate with that, then relate in such a fashion. Suppose there is a single chair. Okay. So on a single chair, only one person can sit. Means now we can argue in this fashion. No, sir, many times we do share chairs also in restaurants and cafeterias. Okay, that two guys, those are friends, they are sharing a single chair. But that is supposed to be very different scenario. But ideally, single chair is meant for a single person. In similar fashion, single chunk is supposed to be under control of a single process.
Right.
Consider it with respect to chair, not with respect to benches. Because there might be multiple chairs with respect to a particular bench. So we can say that now you can see that more students or more people can share that particular bench. Okay. So point is that if your process wants more space, then it can take another chunk also. But that chunk should be contiguous. Means in a sequential fashion. Process cannot get distributed with respect to fragmentation, because if you allow processes to get fragmented, earlier what was the problem? That we don't even allow the processes to get fragmented. If processes don't get fragmented, how you can utilize the fragmented space? So that's why the concept of paging came. Paging is supposed to overcome the drawbacks of fragmentation. Okay, but still not completely. Did you get your answer, Archit?
Yes, Professor.
Okay. See here it will become more clear. Okay. Earlier also I have discussed the concept of paging, but that concept means somewhat might not be clear to you guys. So here you can see paging is what? Paging is a memory management scheme, and we have discussed the concept of memory management unit. So memory management unit is supposed to take care of paging. Now paging is supposed to eliminate the need of contiguous allocation. Till now, what we have assumed, we assumed that there is a need of contiguous allocation. Why? Because we don't have the sufficiently good mechanism to take care of dynamic allocation, means fragmented dynamic allocation. Fragmented dynamic allocation means at runtime, you are taking one part of process P1 and then you are taking it out and taking part 2 of process P1. Means there are not multiple, means memory, either the process will get stored in its totality into RAM or not. So if you are saying that contiguous space is not there, then it is not supposed to get stored in memory. So here you can see that we have divided our process into multiple pages. So page is what? It's a part of process. And that page is supposed to take space in memory anywhere. But page is the smallest unit. Earlier it was process. Now we have made multiple parts of that process and we have defined a unit that is page. Now you cannot divide page because it is the basic unit. And if you want to say, sir, we can divide it more to minimize the drawbacks of fragmentation further, then yes, you can divide. But ultimately, you need to name that particular basic unit also. Means if you want to make parts of pages also, then again you need to define some new name for that new unit now. Because ultimately, at the very end, there will be a basic unit. In any system, doesn't matter physics, chemistry, math, or any basic science or any science, there is some basic unit that you are supposed to employ with respect to any specific subject or expertise or context. Okay, so here with respect to functional programs, there was a concept of process, but that process concept was too big, means it was not good enough to hold control of memory in such a fashion so that your memory is utilized in an optimal way. So what we did, we break it down. But now we named the basic unit as page. Now, if you want to break your page definition also, then make some new unit and then use it. Okay. So in similar fashion, right now, with respect to paging, we are discussing that page is the unit, basic unit of program. Now, if page is the basic unit, then what is a process? Process is a combination of multiple pages of same size. Size is important. Size is same for all the pages. Okay, like chunks. So here, when your process got divided into same size pages and your memory is not divided of same size chunks, then obviously again there will be a problem of fragmentation. So your memory is also divided into same size chunks as of page, but that is called frame. Are you getting? Means with respect to a process, there will be certain pages, and with respect to pages, there will be frames. But when something is part of main memory, it is supposed to be called as frame, and when it is part of process, it is supposed to be called page. So pages are supposed to get stored in frames, because ultimately frames are in main memory and pages are part of process. Clear? So here you can see that your CPU generated the logical address. Now this logical address is supposed to get divided into two components, that is page and offset. This D is offset. Offset means a kind of index. Okay. So here your page is supposed to work as an index for your page table. So suppose here you have defined some in this page table, you will find an address that is of your frame. Frame means your memory area. So take this address from here, add this offset into this frame address, and finally you will get your final physical memory address. Okay, like we discussed the concept of logical to physical address mapping now. There, what you are doing, that we were supposed to discuss. We were discussing that CPU generated a logical address, then we mapped it to physical address. But how? In this fashion. Because earlier we considered that process is a single chunk. Now we are considering that process is a combination of multiple pages. So if process is a single chunk and it is supposed to get stored in the form of single chunk only in memory, then it is supposed to create fragmentation issue. Okay, but at that time we were only supposed to consider only two things. One, base address, and second was limit address. So base plus limit will define the boundary limit for that particular memory address space. Okay, but here as we are considering multiple pages part of process, so obviously there will be multiple limits with respect to each page of that particular process. Okay, so earlier whatever concept we were discussing in the form of process, now we will discuss each concept in the form of page. Understood? Nothing has changed. The only thing that has changed is that your process got divided into multiple pages. Now the basic unit is page, not process. Clear?
Professor, so if a process has 3 pages, you move on to the next page only after filling the first page. There's no other criteria for splitting a process into pages.
No, means you are trying to say that these are the 3 pages.
Right, so it means the first 2 pages at least are completely used up.
Okay.
There's no more space in the... No, Professor, so if I have a process and I'm splitting it into pages, okay, I'm just randomly like sectioning it until the entire process fits into how many other pages?
You cannot make random sections. That's what I'm saying. That your process size, your page size and your frame size should be same. Because if your page and frame size are not same, then obviously you cannot take the best fit scenario now. Because again there will be a problem of fragmentation, internal or external fragmentation.
Right, okay.
Yes. So your page size and your frame size should be same, so that you always make the maximum use of your memory space. Okay. So here, how many pages will be there in your means in a process? How many pages will be there? So it's a question of process design. It's a question of your process size. Means so when you will see, means in a practical scenario, if we try to define the size of process, So suppose if your process is of 2 MB, okay, and then you want to create only, means if your page size of 1 MB, then there are only 2 pages. Okay, but it also means that your memory is also divided into 1 MB frames. So in similar fashion, the size of page table, and your memory frame will depend on a single concept, that what is your page size. If your page size 1 MB, means your frame size is also 1 MB. Now, how many total pages? It will depend on the number of processes, how many processes you are running in a system, and what is the size of those processes. So number of processes into size of those processes, and then you can divide it, means size of one process. And if we consider that all the processes are of same size, then if there are 10 processes, then 10 into size of one process is of 2 MB, and size of one page of 1 MB, then 2 by 1, that is 2. So 2 processes into 10, that is 20 pages total. But with respect to memory, what? If your memory is of 2 GB, okay, so then those are kind of 1024 pages, 1024 frames. Okay, so here if we say that if you are supposed to have means same size page and frame, then only you can define this sort of architecture, because then only you will eliminate the concerns of fragmentation. So here 2 GB your memory here, and then your 1 MB space. So in terms of page, then 2 GB divided by 1 MB. So in this fashion, you'll have 2048. Fine. Shall we continue? Okay, fine. So here, point what means what is your memory, means what is your paging. So it's a kind of memory management scheme that is needed to eliminate the concerns of fragmentation. Then when the concept of paging comes into picture, so whenever we want to make the effective use of our memory, then we are supposed to take the concept of paging into picture, and where it is supposed to get employed, it is supposed to get employed in main memory. Because ultimately your paging activity means all the process pages are supposed to get loaded into main memory. And if, as I told you earlier lectures also, that if there are so many processes, and normally your process size might be high, and normally your page size is very less, for minimizing the chances of fragmentation. Okay, so then there will be so many pages in your system, might be thousands or lakhs of pages. So if that many pages your system has, then obviously it will be a problem to search the required page in the page table. Means this indexing process will take time. Okay, so page table is also kept in main memory. Page table is always part of main memory only, because you cannot store it, this page table, into disk. Because if you store this into disk, then obviously every time you need to make access to disk, and accessing disk is a costly operation. It takes a lot more time than main memory. So that's why page table is always a part of main memory. Clear? And I think this concept is quite clear. Earlier there was a process concept. So process was supposed to get checked with respect to base register and base plus limit register. But here, as we have divided process into different pages, so you are supposed to first check the address of your page in main memory. So that base address will come from this particular page table, and this base address will get added with respect to some offset of this particular page, and it will take you to your actual location. Fine. So consider this frame address, this base address, as the base address of your process. And then suppose at 2000 location, you have stored your process that is of 2 MB, and there are 2 pages of 1 MB. And then this offset value can be only 0 or 1. Because at 0 location, you will find the first page, and this 2000 plus 1, then 2001, then 2001 will give you the second page. Clear? Okay, fine. So here it will become more clear if you have not understood till now. See here. Suppose your total logical address is of size M. Okay, so firstly understand these two terms, that is P and D. So your address generated by CPU is logical address. Okay, as you have seen here, this logical address is divided into P and D. So what is this P and D? So your P is supposed to get used in the form of index into a page table, which will give you the base address of each page. Okay, and then in combination to this particular base address, you are supposed to take an offset, because you might be interested into some particular part. You might be interested in some particular part of that particular page. Okay, you might not be interested in the other components of that particular page. You might be interested in a particular subcomponent of that particular page. Then you are supposed to take help of index. It's like that in a book, you have multiple chapters, but inside each chapter you have multiple topics. And at exam time, you are very much interested in a particular topic. You don't want to read the whole chapter. Then what you are supposed to do? Go to index. See the page number. Suppose your index doesn't offer you the topic list. It only offers the chapter list. So if there is a chapter list, then see the base address from your index. Then your index is what? Index is your page table. Okay. Then what is your page base address? That is the starting page number of that particular chapter. Now you need an offset. If you do have, okay, then you will go, that's supposed to get add, means how many pages further, how many pages forward you will get the intended topic. So that is your offset. Hopefully you might have understood. Okay, so here if your logical space is of 2 to power m size, 2 to power m unit is not given here because it might be MB, GB or whatsoever, TB. Okay, so suppose it is your logical address space, and in logical address space we do know that it's a logical address space lies nowhere. It's a kind of virtual address. Okay, so unit is not needed here, it's just the number. So 2 to power m. 2 to power m means what? Only m bits are sufficient to address all the logic space. Have you understood the concept? Means have you read about the computer architecture or microprocessor or microcontroller architecture? Anyone? Hello. Am I audible?
Yes, Professor.
Yes.
I've not read about microprocessor architecture.
No issue.
I understood the concept here.
Okay. So here, as we have, suppose, let me give you a basic example. 2 to power 10 means what? Two to power 10 is how much?
1024.
1024. Perfect. Because you are computer guys, so you are supposed to be very familiar with these terms. Okay. So 2 to power 3, 8, 2 to power 10, 1024. So 2 to power 10, why I am asking? Because it is supposed to get incremented with respect to memory units. Okay. If you have here 2 to power 10 bytes, it means what? 1 kilobyte. 2 to power 10 KB means what? 1 MB. 2 to power 10 MB means 1 GB. So in this fashion, these things are supposed to get incremental. So here, this is the page number, this is the page offset. So suppose it is your 2 to power 10 locations. So how many bits are sufficient to address these many locations? 2 to power 10 means what? 1024 locations. 1024 locations can be addressed with the help of 10 bits only. Because you will start from there 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. 10 zeros up to 10 ones. And all 1024 locations will get respective address. Take a simpler example, 2 to power 3. 2 to power 3 means what? 8 locations. So if you have 8 locations like here, you see 0 to 7. How many locations? 8. Okay. So how many bits do you need to give address to these locations? Only 3 bits. 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 1, 0, 1, 0, 0, 1, 1, 1, 0, 0, 1, 0, 1, 1, 1, 0, 1, 1, 1. Only 3 bits are sufficient. So here it means that if you have 2 to power m locations, then m bits are sufficient to address all the memory locations. So here, with this concept, we have a logical address space of 2 to power m, means that many memory locations. Now, if that many memory locations means only m bits are sufficient. So your logical address size is what? M bits. Okay. So if your m bits are sufficient, means m is the size of logical address, then logical address is supposed to get divided into page size and offset size. See here, the logical address is supposed to get divided into page and offset. So here, this page number and offset number, these are supposed to have particular number of bits. So out of total m bits, if n is the offset bits, n is the number of offset bits, then how many bits are left for page number? M minus n, because total number of bits are n. For logical address, n are reserved for offset and m minus n are for page number. So suppose if m size is 10, then out of 10, 3 bits are reserved for page offset. So at max, what can be the page offset? That is supposed to be 7. Okay. And remaining bits, how many? 7. So 2 to power 7 pages can be there in your page table. Understood? 2 to power 7 page tables, 2 to power 7 number of pages can be there in your page table. And in each page, you may have 8 different blocks ranging from 0 to 7. 0 will point to your base address of your page and 7 will point to the last offset in your page. So in this fashion, you see here that if this is your logical memory, here they have not discussed the concept of offset, because inside page you will have multiple sections that will get defined by this value offset. Here they have just simply defined the concept of paging, that you have multiple pages, no concept of offset. But there might be a concept, might or might not. Suppose there is no offset, then it means what? 2 to power m means m bits are totally reserved for pages. So 2 to power 10 memory locations in logical address space means 1024, means 1024 number of pages are there. If there is no offset, all the bits are reserved for page. Okay, then in that case, you don't need to add here this particular offset. If there is no offset, only base address, then just simply use that address, find your frame address of memory. Okay, go there, access your page. So here this concept only they have shown, that this is your logical memory. Here they have 4 pages. So these 4 pages are stored in your memory in this fashion. Page 0 is stored at 1. So you can see that in page table, using page 0 means you came at 0 location. Here what you found? 1. So you will go to 1 location. So it is the frame address, F value. See here, by using index P, you are supposed to find the value of F, that is frame. This is supposed to function as the base address of your page. If there is no offset, then just by seeing your process number, page number, you can directly go to the required page in main memory. So page 1 is stored at 4th frame. So go to 4th frame. Here it is. Okay. Now don't consider it like this, that it is 4th. So we will count that 1, 2, 3, 4. No, it is the exact value. It is not counted value. Okay. It is supposed to work like an index in your main memory. So this value will get fetched and will supposed to get utilized as it is. It is supposed to function in the form of index. So these pages, this page value is supposed to work in the form of index for page table, and this frame value that is supposed to work in the form of index for main memory. So hopefully you must have understood that page size, frame size must be same. Page number will work like index for your page table, and frame value will work like a index for your frame. Main memory. Fine. Moving forward. Now we have understood the importance of page table, that if we have so many pages in our memory, then obviously we are supposed to maintain some page for easy access. Then where this page table is supposed to get implemented? Obviously, as I told, in main memory. Because if we store it in disk, then it will take a lot more time. And we cannot store in cache. Because if you store it in cache memory, then obviously it is supposed to get very heavy. Because cache memory size is MB, means a few MBs, 4 MB, 6 MB, 8 MB. But your page table might be large. It might be requiring 240 MB, 512 MBs or something like that. Okay. So if your page table is very large, it might need more space. That is not good enough with respect to cache memory. So there is always a trade-off of price and performance. If you are able to handle costly systems, okay, if you do have lots of money and all, so you can handle heavy servers. There you will have lots of cache memory and you can keep your page table into that. But normally, if you have a heavy system, obviously there will be a lot more process in comparison to a traditional system. So if you have a lot more processes, then the page table size will also get on increase. So more processes, more pages, larger page table, more page table size, again there is a bottleneck. Again there is a confusion whether to put it into main memory or cache memory. But on average, means for all sort of systems, it is normally kept in memory. Okay. As soon as your system is on, a page table is created, and as soon as your system is off, it's as the main memory is volatile, so it is supposed to get removed. Okay. Now your page table base register. As we have the concept of base register with respect to processes, base and limit. Similar fashion, we have the page table base register and we have the page table length register. This will point, page table base register will point to the page table, means where it is starting, and then it indicates the size of page table, means how many pages does it hold. Okay, so starting address of page table and how many pages means what? Last page. Last page will work as a limit. So base plus limit will define the total length. In this scheme, the data instruction requires a 2 memory accesses. Okay, one for page table and another for data instruction. Can anybody detail me this particular point? What this point is trying to convey? In this scheme means page table. Using page table, we are supposed to make 2 memory accesses, one for page table and one for data or instruction. Anybody? Okay, fine, no issue. as I told you that the page table is supposed to be in main memory. So firstly, to access any page, firstly you need to get the base address, means the frame address, and then you need to add offset, and then you are supposed to get the actual address. So firstly you need to access page table, and then you need to access the actual data. So two main memory accesses are there or not? Still confused? Okay, see this figure again. Here it is your logical address. So to get the actual physical address, our motive is what? Our motive is to get this location. But to get this location, firstly you need to access the base address of this particular page. So this base address will come from page table, and page table is where? Page table is in main memory. So firstly you need to access page table, means first memory access. First memory means first main memory access. Okay, first main memory access. Then you got this base address. Now you added some offset if it is there. Then you are supposed to go to actual location in main memory and fetch the actual data or instruction, whatever is there. So one memory access, second memory access. So for any sort of logical address, you are supposed to make two memory accesses. First for base address with respect to page table, and another for the actual address with respect to main memory. And as the page table is also implemented in main memory, so there are two main memory accesses. Clear? So here the same thing is written over here. In this scheme means the memory access using page table, every data or instruction access means every logical address requires two memory accesses, one for page table and other for the actual main memory location data or instruction. Clear? Any doubts so far? Fine. Okay. See here, now we know that page table size might be large or small. Okay, but normally page table size may be a problem because nowadays we do have very high degree of multi-program because systems are powerful. So we do employ so many processes into system utilization. So suppose you have tens of GBs of RAM, and then you have hundreds or thousands of GBs of storage in terms of hard disk. Okay, then you have a whole area of processors, and then you are supposed to have a very hi-fi server system we normally do employ. You must have heard of some heavy processing requirements like we do need in Bitcoins mining. Okay, so when we do have that sort of applications which require very powerful systems, then those sort of systems might have very large number of processes in your system. So the degree of multi-programming is very high. So when the degree of multi-programming is very high, number of pages are more, then your page table size is very high. So what is the problem? When the page table size is very large, then this page table searching time keeps on increasing. And what do we want? We always want to minimize the search time, because if the search time gets minimized, you can effectively get your required data in time and your system will give fast response. So your response time becomes less if your system makes a quick searching. But if your search time is more, then your response time also keeps on increasing. Okay, so to make your system more efficient, means more responsive, your page table is supposed to get assisted with some other type of memory that is supposed to offer more fast searching. Okay, but as we do know that page table is implemented in main memory, and we are saying that this assistive technology, this assistive memory mechanism is supposed to offer much faster access. It means what? It is not in main memory, because if it is also in main memory and it is also in main memory, then how this can give more fast access than this particular memory? One case. Can anybody tell how it can give faster search results or give more responsive answers to the required query. Anyway. Suppose there are two tables. My question is not clear, then I am repeating again. Okay. If this is one table, this is another table. Suppose both tables are in main memory. Okay. And I am claiming that this table is helping you to get your results faster. Is it possible? Hello.
If it were a shorter list, then you'd have.
Great. It's the concept. Shweta is absolutely right here. If this size is small in comparison to this, then obviously it is supposed to give you faster results. But faster not in terms of memory access time, because memory access time is same, because it is also in main memory, it is also in main memory. So memory access time is same for this, same for this. Okay. So here, if you keep only the kind of values which are accessed very frequently. For example, if you have written a program and in that you have used a counter variable that is supposed to count the number of instructions or the number of times a loop has been used or something like that. Okay. So all those sort of activities means which are supposed to get accessed very frequently. If you keep all those things here, then from here and restrict the size of this particular data structure, might be a two-dimensional array or something like that. Okay. So here, if you keep on only 10 values, suppose, and your page table contains thousands of values. So 10 values, thousands of values. So out of these 1,000 values, which are the most frequently used values? Take those 10 values which are most frequently used and keep in this particular table. And whenever there is a search with respect to any memory block, then you firstly search this memory space, because we are supposed to keep only most frequently frames here. So if the most frequently frames or pages are here, then they will, what is the probability means on average, if we say, then 50% probability is that you will get your frames here only, because periodically you are shifting the frames from here to here. Why? Because you do know that now the most frequently used frame is this. Now the most frequently frame is this. Okay. So periodically you are shifting pages or frames from here to here. And every time there is a logical address, you are not searching page table first. You are searching this table first. Okay. This is the one way. But suppose if this memory, this data structure is stored in a memory that is much faster than your main memory. Means suppose you implement this table in cache memory. Then obviously, then there is no doubt, doesn't matter whether the size is less or not, it is going to offer you faster response time. Okay. So first thing, that its size is less. And on the top of it, the another best point, that it is implemented usually in cache, in level 1 or level 2. Okay, so TLB implementation. TLB is a translation look aside buffer. So translation look aside buffers, these are to delve into the discussion of associative memory, what it is, but it is supposed to be kind of, there is an associative value that is supposed to help you search other value. Okay. So you just simply consider that if your page table size is very large, then whatever things that you want to access very frequently, keep all those things into a separate data structure and implement that data structure not in main memory but in cache. Then you will get double advantage. First thing, that your size is less, so searching time is less, as Shweta told, and additionally you are implementing it not in main memory but in cache. So obviously your speed will get multifold. So here the concept is same. The only difference is whenever CPU will generate a logical address, you will not search directly to page table. you will first search in TLB. If you got the required page that you are searching for in TLB, it will called as TLB hit. Then you will get the required frame from here only, and you will put that frame here, add the offset, and you will get the physical address. But if you don't have the required page here, then you will search that page number in page table. There is no other choice. Okay, it will be termed as TLB miss. Okay, and then you will find the frame address from here, and then you will add the offset, and then you will get the physical address. Means either the frame will be here with respect to page number, or it will be here. From any of these locations, you will get the frame address, base address means, and then you will add the offset, and then you will get the final. Clear? Okay. So what was the reason to employ TLB? Means a translation looks at buffer. So the reason was that there was a problem of two memory access, because earlier there was page table also in main memory, and it is main memory. So for any logical address, you are supposed to access main memory 2 times. So your search time gets increased. So just to minimize your search time means to increase your response time. You are supposed to implement this TLB in cache, and due to cache functional mechanism, obviously you will get the speed advantages. Okay, and now your search time will get reduced. Finally, so now this 2 memory access problem becomes gets divided into 1 cache plus 1 main memory. So now there is only single memory access. Why? Because normally the cache access is not considered. Why? Because cache access time is very less in comparison to main memory. So it is kind of negligible. So whatever content that is accessed from registers, CPU registers or cache. And in some of the systems, you may find that cache is a part of CPU. So if something is part of CPU only, then it's a sort of only means a negligible time frame that is supposed to get devoted to access particular content from cache or register. Okay, so now this 2 memory access problem gets reduced to 1 memory access problem. Moving forward, last topic of today's discussion, that is segmentation. So what is segmentation? Segmentation is nothing new. The same concept as of process management and as of page table. So instead of page, here we have the concept of S, that is segment. And how do we see this concept of segmentation? So see here, your segmentation is just as the user's. So here you can see that when a user see a memory, means a program, when you write a program, what do you see? You normally see that it is my main program. It is the symbol table. There is a step. Means with respect to a particular program, when somebody asks you that what components of a program are supposed to get stored in memory, then you will say, sir, I have written a piece of code. So obviously there will be a main file, means the actual code file. Then there will be some additional subroutines. Those are supposed to add the functionality of input output to my program. Then there is a library function that I have used to assist my program. Then there will be some stack memory area. Why? Because with respect to my program, there will be some compile time variables. So those are supposed to get stored in stack. There will be some heap space. So that will be used for dynamic memory allocation with respect to my program requirement. And so the user view is like this. So segmentation offers you this kind of view only. Like with respect to every program or process, you do know that there is a main program, there might be some symbol table, there might be some additional functions that you are programming, there might be some stack space, there might be some heap space or subroutine space. Okay. So in similar fashion, store your kind of segments of your program here also. And these segments will get stored like pages in memory. Okay. Now, handling of this kind of architecture is shown here. Like you do have the concept of paging. So here P is supposed to be there. Now you have S. Now this S here, using this S, instead of page table, you will have a segment table. So using this as index, you will come up to the limit and base value. So this limit should be within the required limits. Why? Because you do not have the same size frames like pages. Here, you do have whatever is the page size, that is supposed to be the same frame size. See here. Whatever is the page size, that is supposed to be the same of frame size. But here in segments, that is not the condition. It is just similar to your process concept, where we are supposed to have the condition of base and limit. In similar fashion, we have the base and limit with respect to segments, because here your physical memory is might be randomly divided, because you do know, as you can see here, that your segment size might be different. Your stack size might be different than your subroutine size. Your symbol table size might be different than your main memory size. So you don't have the fixed space. So here you will have the concept of base and limit. So in some of the systems it is recommended, because those are not supposed to worry about the fragmentation and kind of activities. But in some of the systems that is not practical. Okay. So similarly, you will check whether the limit is within limit of that particular process or not. With respect to that particular segment or not. If it is, then add the value of limit to your base value and you will get the required address. If it is not, then send a interrupt message to operating system that there is some sort of error with respect to address. Clear? So this is the focus, and last point that what we saw just in figure, that logical address is divided into two forms. Instead of page table, we'll have the segment number and offset, and then instead of page table, we'll have the segment table. Then there will be a concept of base and limit. Base will contain the starting physical address where the segment resides in memory, and limit will specify its length. Then segment table base register will hold the segment table's location in memory, and segment table length register will indicate the number of segments. This STBR and STLR are same as of page table registers. That is PTBR and PTLR. That is segment table base register. Here it is page table base register. Similarly, page table limit register, length register, there segment table length register. Okay. So I hope this lecture and all the focuses are clear. And obviously, if your segment number S is legal, only if your S is less than your segment table length register, because segment table length register is pointing to the number of segments. So if you have 8 segments and you are trying to access the 9th segment, so it is invalid. Okay. So that's for today. If you have any sort of question or doubt, please do ask. Anyone? Okay, guys. Thank you. I consider your silence as of your consent to stop the lecture. You don't have any questions for today. If you do have, you can ask. Fine. So thank you for your time. I'm going to stop sharing and I'm going to stop the recording.